Are you silently carrying a weight you can't name? That knot in your chest, that quiet unease when someone crosses a line, but you let it slide sound familiar? Welcome to Jung Psyche Hub, where we dive deep into Carl Jung's wisdom to uncover the truths holding you back. Today, we're exposing 7 unacceptable behaviors. Carl Jung warned us never to tolerate behaviors that chip away at your identity, your confidence, and your mental health. These aren't just annoying habits. They're silent poisons, disguised as love, humor, or loyalty, that Carl Jung believed threaten your journey to becoming your true self. From manipulation to contempt, these behaviors don't scream. They whisper, eroding who you are until you barely recognize yourself. In this video, we'll reveal all 7, share real-life stories to help you spot them, and give you practical steps to stop tolerating them for good. You're here because something inside you is ready to say enough. Stick with us to discover how to reclaim your power and live unapologetically as the person you're meant to be. By the end, you'll see these behaviors and maybe even yourself in a whole new light. Let's wake up together and dive in. Have you ever felt a quiet ache inside? A sense that something's wrong, but you brush it off because it's just how things are? Maybe you've let a snide comment slide, ignored a gut feeling, or stayed silent when someone crossed a line. That discomfort isn't random, it's a warning. Welcome to Jung Psyche Hub, where we're diving into Carl Jung's profound insights to uncover why tolerating certain behaviors can erode your identity, your confidence, and your mental health. In this chapter, we'll explore why allowing these silent poisons behaviors like manipulation, gaslighting, or contempt can disconnect you from your true self, and what you can do to stop it. Carl Jung, the visionary Swiss psychologist, believed that our greatest growth comes from confronting what holds us back. His concept of individuation, the journey to become your authentic self, requires facing not just external challenges, but the internal betrayals we allow. When you tolerate behaviors that diminish you, you're not just letting others off the hook, you're betraying yourself, the core of who you are. Carl Jung taught that the self is the center of your psyche, your inner compass. Every time you swallow disrespect or ignore your intuition, you drift further from that center, creating a fracture in your soul. Why does this hurt so much? Because tolerating toxic behaviors isn't a one-time act, it's a pattern. Each time you let someone manipulate your emotions, dismiss your feelings, or belittle you with a joke, you're giving them permission to chip away at your identity. Carl Jung's idea of the shadow, the hidden parts of yourself like fear, shame, or anger comes into play here. When you tolerate these behaviors, you're often avoiding your own shadow, like the fear of conflict or the need to be liked. But here's the brutal truth. What you don't confront festers. It grows in the dark, manifesting as anxiety, self-doubt, or a vague sadness you can't name. Let's make this real with a story. Meet Emily, a 34-year-old office manager who prided herself on being easygoing. Her co-worker, Tom, often made sarcastic remarks about her work, disguised as humor. "Oh, Emily, still struggling with that report?" he'd say with a smirk while others laughed. She'd smile, thinking it wasn't worth a fight, but each comment stung. Over time, she started doubting her competence, second-guessing every decision. She didn't realize it, but by tolerating Tom's behavior, she was letting his words rewrite her self-image. Carl Jung would say Emily was ignoring her shadow, her fear of standing up for herself, allowing it to grow unchecked. This is where Carl Jung's wisdom shines. He warned that what you permit becomes your reality. When you tolerate manipulation or contempt, you're not just absorbing someone else's shadow, you're reinforcing patterns that disconnect you from yourself. Emily's story isn't unique. Maybe you've had a friend who dismisses your feelings with, "You're too sensitive," or a partner who ignores you to teach you a lesson. These behaviors aren't just annoying, they're psychological violence. They erode your trust in your own perception, leaving you feeling invisible or unworthy. But why do we tolerate them? Carl Jung pointed to the collective unconscious, a shared reservoir of human experience that shapes how we behave. Society often teaches us to prioritize harmony over truth, to sacrifice our needs for approval. From childhood, we're told to be nice, to avoid conflict, to keep the peace. This conditioning makes it hard to say no, even when someone's behavior crosses a line. The result? You become an emotional sponge, soaking up others' toxicity while losing touch with your own voice. The damage goes deeper than you might think. Carl Jung believed that repressing your emotions doesn't make them disappear, it transforms them into something darker. That knot in your chest? It might show up as sleepless nights, unexplained anger, or a lingering sense of emptiness. When Emily finally noticed how much Tom's comments affected her, she realized she'd been anxious for months, dreading work. Tolerating his behavior wasn't just hurting her confidence, it was impacting her mental health. So, how do you break this cycle? First, recognize that your discomfort is a signal, not a flaw. Carl Jung taught that your intuition, those gut feelings you dismiss, is your psyche's way of protecting you. When something feels off, it's not because you're too sensitive. It's your inner compass screaming for attention. Start listening. Here's a practical step. Keep a journal. Every time you feel uneasy after an interaction, write it down. Ask, what behavior triggered this? Why did I let it slide? Emily started journaling and noticed a pattern. She avoided confronting Tom because she feared being seen as difficult. That realization was her first step toward change. Journaling helps you name the poison, making it easier to stop swallowing it. Second, set small boundaries. You don't need to confront every behavior head-on, especially if it feels daunting. Start with a simple, "That comment didn't feel okay to me," or walk away from a toxic conversation. Emily practiced this by calmly telling Tom, "I'd appreciate it if you didn't joke about my work." It wasn't easy, but it shifted the dynamic. Small boundaries build confidence, showing you that your voice matters. Finally, reconnect with yourself. Carl Jung's individuation process is about aligning with your true essence, not what others expect you to be. Take 5 minutes daily to sit in silence, breathe, and ask, what do I need right now? Maybe it's rest, a kind word, or space from someone who drains you. Honoring these needs strengthens your inner compass, making it harder for toxic behaviors to take root. Tolerating these behaviors hurts because it pulls you away from who you are. Carl Jung warned that what you don't confront controls you. Every time you let disrespect slide, you're handing over a piece of your power. But here's the good news. You can take it back. In the next chapter, we'll dive into the 7 unacceptable behaviors Carl Jung warned us about, with real stories to help you spot them in your life. Stay with us. You're not just learning, you're reclaiming your truth. Now that you understand why tolerating toxic behaviors can disconnect you from your true self, it's time to name the culprits. Carl Jung's wisdom shines a light on 7 behaviors that threaten your identity, mental health, and journey toward individuation. These aren't loud, obvious attacks, they're subtle, disguised as love, humor, or loyalty, but they erode your soul. In this chapter, we'll uncover each of the 7 unacceptable behaviors Carl Jung warned us not to tolerate, with real-life stories to help you spot them and practical steps to shut them down. Let's dive in and reclaim your power. 1. Covert emotional manipulation. This behavior creeps in softly, dressed as concern or affection. "I'm only saying this for your good," or "If you loved me, you'd do this." It's control, not care. Manipulators don't force, they make you question your choices until you bend to their will. Carl Jung saw this as an attack on the self, pulling you away from your inner truth. Take Sarah, a 29-year-old teacher. Her friend Mia often guilt-tripped her into canceling plans to help with Mia's problems. "You're the only one I trust," Mia would say. Sarah felt trapped, prioritizing Mia's needs over her own. What to do? Trust your gut when you feel pressured. Practice saying, "I need to think about it," to create space. Sarah used this to set boundaries, reclaiming her time. 2. Humiliation disguised as humor. A cutting joke, a sarcastic jab, a teasing comment that stings sound familiar. This behavior hides behind laughter, but it's a power play. Carl Jung knew the unconscious doesn't distinguish between jest and harm. Every jab chips at your self-esteem. James, a 35-year-old designer, faced this at work. His boss would mock his ideas in meetings, saying, "James, always dreaming big." with a smirk. Everyone laughed, but James felt small. What to do? Call it out calmly. Say, "That felt more hurtful than funny." James tried this, and his boss backed off. Naming the behavior disrupts its power. 3. Gaslighting. Gaslighting makes you doubt your reality. That never happened. Or, you're overreacting. It's a psychological trap that erodes your trust in yourself. Carl Jung called this an internal betrayal, disconnecting you from yourself. Lisa, a 32-year-old nurse, dated someone who denied promises he made, saying, "You're imagining things." She started questioning her memory. What to do? Write down conversations to anchor your truth. Share with a trusted friend for validation. Lisa journaled and confided in a friend, regaining clarity. 4. Systematic emotional invalidation. This behavior dismisses your feelings as too much or not a big deal. It tells you your emotions are wrong, forcing you to suppress them. Carl Jung warned that repressed emotions fester, turning into anxiety or sadness. Mark, a 40-year-old writer, shared his stress with his sister who said, "Stop whining, others have it worse." He stopped opening up, feeling isolated. What to do? Validate yourself first. Say, "My feelings are real." Seek supportive listeners. Mark found a therapy group where his emotions were heard, healing his voice. 5. Silent contempt. A cold shoulder, an ignored text, a deliberate glance away. This is contempt without words. It makes you feel invisible, punishing you with silence. Carl Jung saw this as a rejection of your existence, wounding your need for connection. Rachel, a 27-year-old marketer, had a friend who'd ghost her after disagreements, leaving her anxious. What to do? Don't chase silence. Focus on relationships that value you. Rachel stopped reaching out and invested in friends who reciprocated, regaining confidence. 6. Normalization of sacrifice as a virtue. Society praises self-sacrifice, putting others first, always saying yes, but Carl Jung saw it as self-abandonment. Constantly giving up your needs fragments yourself, leaving you empty. Emma, a 38-year-old mom, always put her family first, neglecting her passion for painting. She felt lost, resenting her role. What to do? Prioritize one need of yours daily, like 15 minutes for a hobby. Emma scheduled painting time, rediscovering her joy. 7. Acceptance of contempt as the price for belonging. This is the deepest wound. Tolerating disrespect to avoid loneliness. You accept crumbs of affection, convincing yourself it's better than nothing. Carl Jung called this a psychic death, a complete disconnection from yourself. David, a 30-year-old engineer, stayed in a toxic friend group that mocked him, fearing he'd have no one. What to do? Choose solitude over toxic bonds. Join communities aligned with your values. David left the group and joined a book club, finding true connection. These 7 behaviors: manipulation, humiliation, gaslighting, invalidation, contempt, sacrifice, and accepting disrespect are silent threats to your individuation. Carl Jung taught that your shadow fears or insecurities makes you vulnerable to them, but facing your shadow builds strength. Each story: Sarah, James, Lisa, Mark, Rachel, Emma, David shows how these behaviors creep in, but also how you can stop them. Practical toolkit: journal daily. Write about interactions that felt off. Ask, which behavior was this? How did I respond? Set one boundary. Practice saying no to one small thing, like a guilt trip or a joke. Affirm your truth. When doubted, say to yourself, "My reality is valid." These steps empower you to spot and stop these behaviors. In the next chapter, we'll explore how to break free from tolerating them and reclaim your power with actionable strategies. Stay with us. You're not just watching. You're waking up to your truth. You've named the 7 unacceptable behaviors: manipulation, humiliation, gaslighting, invalidation, contempt, sacrifice, and accepting disrespect. You've seen how they erode your identity and disconnect you from your true self. But knowing isn't enough. Carl Jung's wisdom doesn't just illuminate the problem. It offers a path to freedom. In this chapter, we'll explore 3 practical strategies rooted in Carl Jung's teachings to stop tolerating these toxic behaviors and reclaim your power. Through real-life stories and actionable steps, you'll learn how to set boundaries, face your shadow, and align with yourself to live unapologetically. Let's take back what's yours. Step 1. Set clear boundaries to protect yourself. Carl Jung taught that the self, your inner core, is sacred, but toxic behaviors thrive when you leave it unguarded. Setting boundaries is how you protect it. Boundaries aren't walls, they're statements of your worth, telling others what you will and won't accept. Without them, you're vulnerable to manipulation or contempt. Take Mia, a 31-year-old graphic designer who struggled with a manipulative co-worker, Alex. He'd guilt-trip her into doing his work, saying, "You're so good at this, I need you." Mia felt drained but kept saying yes to avoid conflict. Carl Jung would say she was neglecting herself, letting Alex's shadow, his need for control, invade her space. Mia decided to set a boundary. She calmly told Alex, "I can't take on extra tasks right now." He pushed back, but she held firm, and over time he stopped asking how to do it. Start small. Identify one behavior you're tolerating. Maybe a friend's dismissive comments or a partner's silent treatment. Practice a simple phrase like, "That doesn't work for me," or "I need respect in this conversation." Write it down and rehearse it. Mia practiced in front of a mirror, building confidence. If confrontation feels scary, start with indirect boundaries, like limiting time with toxic people. Boundaries aren't about changing others, they're about honoring yourself. Step 2. Face your shadow to break the cycle. Carl Jung's concept of the shadow, the hidden fears, insecurities, or shame within you, explains why you tolerate toxic behaviors. Maybe you fear rejection, so you accept humiliation to keep the peace. Or you crave approval, so you sacrifice your needs. These behaviors persist because your shadow makes you vulnerable. Facing it breaks the cycle. Consider James, a 37-year-old accountant who endured jokes from his friend group that left him feeling small. He laughed along, hiding his hurt, because he feared losing them. Carl Jung would say James was avoiding his shadow, a deep fear of abandonment. He started shadow work, a Jungian practice, by journaling, "Why do I tolerate this? What am I afraid of?" He realized his fear stemmed from childhood loneliness. Facing this truth gave him courage. He told his friends, "Those jokes don't feel funny to me." Some resisted, but others apologized, and the dynamic shifted. How to do it? Try shadow work. Each night, write about a behavior you tolerated, maybe gaslighting or invalidation. Ask, what fear kept me silent? Common shadows include fear of conflict, rejection, or being too much. Then take one brave step. Call out the behavior, or seek therapy to explore your fears. James found a therapist who helped him process his shadow, empowering him to stand up for himself. Facing your shadow isn't easy, but it's how you stop being a target. Step 3. Align with yourself through action. Carl Jung's idea of individuation is about living as your authentic self, not a version shaped by others' expectations. Tolerating toxic behaviors pulls you away from this path, but action realigns you. When you act from your truth, saying no to manipulation, walking away from contempt, you invite synchronicity, Carl Jung's term for meaningful coincidences that support your growth. Rachel, a 29-year-old teacher, was trapped in a cycle of sacrifice. She always put her family's needs first, neglecting her dream of writing. After a friend's silent contempt made her feel invisible, she hit a breaking point. Inspired by Carl Jung's teachings, she took action. She set aside 1 hour daily to write, saying no to extra family demands. At first, she felt guilty, but soon her writing flourished, and she connected with a local writers group. That small act of aligning with herself sparked synchronicity. Opportunities flowed because she honored her truth. How to do it? Take micro actions toward your truth. If you're tolerating invalidation, validate yourself by listing 3 things you're proud of. If you're accepting disrespect, join a community that values you, like a hobby group. Pair this with mindfulness. Spend 5 minutes daily visualizing yourself saying no to toxic behaviors. Rachel visualized herself writing confidently, which fueled her commitment. Action, even small, tells the universe you're ready to live authentically. Bringing it together. These steps: setting boundaries, facing your shadow, and acting from your self-care, how you stop tolerating toxic behaviors. Carl Jung believed individuation requires integrating your conscious and unconscious selves, and every boundary you set, every fear you face, brings you closer to wholeness. Mia, James, and Rachel didn't just survive, they reclaimed their power by choosing themselves. You can too. Practical toolkit. Boundary practice: 5 minutes daily. Write one boundary you'll set, like, "I won't accept dismissive comments." Rehearse it. Shadow journal. 10 minutes nightly. Ask, "What fear made me tolerate this behavior today?" Write one step to face it. Truth action. Daily. Do one small act: say no, prioritize a need, or affirm your worth. Visualize success. This toolkit builds resilience. Mia's boundaries stopped manipulation, James's shadow work ended humiliation, and Rachel's actions sparked her dreams. You're not just stopping these behaviors, you're becoming unstoppable. In the final chapter, we'll wrap up with a powerful call to live free from these poisons and embrace your true self. Stay with us, your journey to freedom is just beginning. You've faced the mirror. You've seen the 7 behaviors: manipulation, humiliation, gaslighting, invalidation, contempt, sacrifice, and accepting disrespect that Carl Jung warned can steal your true self. But this isn't the end. It's the beginning of your awakening. Carl Jung taught that individuation, becoming who you're meant to be, starts when you stop tolerating what dims your light. Every boundary you set, every fear you face, every step you take toward your truth is a declaration. I am enough. The universe is watching, waiting for you to claim your power. You're not here to shrink, to swallow poison, or to beg for belonging. You're here to shine, to live unapologetically as the person Carl Jung believed you could become. So, start today. Say no to one toxic behavior. Write down one truth you've been hiding. Choose yourself, even if it's scary. The life you deserve is on the other side of that choice. We want to hear your story. Which of these behaviors are you ready to stop tolerating? Share it in the comments, and let's inspire each other to break free. Subscribe to Jung Psyche Hub and hit the bell for more raw, Carl Jung-inspired insights to fuel your journey. If this video lit a spark in you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Together, we're not just waking up, we're rising. Keep shining, because once you see the truth, you can't unsee it. See you in the next one.